Islam is a religion of balance, justice, and equity. The entire religion of Islam is based on these tenets. If a person has balance, justice, and equity in one of the tenets and fundamental pillars of Islam, and does not have balance, justice, and equity in another tenet of a fundamental in Islam, for example, if one's ibadat is perfect, but one's muamalat, one's financial dealings are not Sharia compliant, then one's deen would not be complete. There would therefore be an imbalance in one's deen. So every person has been accorded a particular right. And for example, when it comes to muasharat and social dealings, if the father has more rights or the children has more rights than the parents, then there would be an imbalance. If the relatives have more rights over the children than the parents, then there would be an imbalance in this just and equitable social system. So Islam is a religion of balance, justice, and equity. In the hadith which I've quoted before you, Rasulullah ﷺ says that to seek a halal income is an obligation after an obligation. So in other words, that just as it is fard to perform salah, hajj, zakat, etc., equally important it is to ensure that one's dealings are Sharia compliant. I would like to provide 3 examples of the importance of Sharia compliance. There are 2 children. One child is legitimate and the other child is illegitimate. There are 2 chickens. Both chickens have white feathers, they have feet, they have a beak, etc. But why is it that one is halal and one is haram? It is because that one was slaughtered with the name of Allah and the other was slaughtered without the name of Allah. There are 2 foundations. One foundation is weak, one foundation is strong. One building collapses, the other building does not collapse. So therefore, it is not the end result that matters, but it is the methodology that is used or the process that is used to gain the end result. And this is why we often hear that Islamic finance, banking, economics is only smoke and screen, or it is smoke and mirrors, and it is closely resembles a conventional product. Yes, the end result is the same. There are 2 people. One person wants to buy a house, the other person wants to buy the same house. But why is it that the financing mechanism of one is Sharia compliant and the other is non-compliant? It is because one person purchased the house from a bank and would pay them back in installments with the profit markup, and the other basically took a conventional HB or mortgage on an interest basis, and therefore the financing arrangement was non-compliant. In fact, Sharia compliance is so important that when Rasulullah ﷺ ascended the 7 heavens to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the tashahhud was revealed, so 3 du'as were made by Rasulullah ﷺ when greeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and upon each du'a, Ameen was said to those du'as. That is, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That upon each du'a, that is, that, oh Allah, my monetary worship is for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantees that there will be barakah and blessings in such a person's financial dealings. So imagine, Allama Sayyid Tahtawi rahimahullah, a famous scholar, says that this is a guarantee that there will be barakah for such a person whose financial dealings are only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in other words, if one's financial dealings are Sharia compliant, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantees barakah for such a person. And imagine that we recite the tashahhud 17 times daily. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantees barakah and blessings for one's financial dealings if they are Sharia compliant 17 times daily. The importance of Sharia compliance can never be understated. And in fact, one of the last verses to be revealed was with regards to Sharia compliance, and where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, idha tadayantum bidayn ila ajalin musamman faktu. That if you take out a debt, then make sure you document that debt. So in other words, that one of the last verses to be revealed, according to some mufassirin and scholars of tafsir, whether it's 9 days or 31 days before the Mubarak death and passing away of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this verse was revealed to show us the importance of ensuring that our dealings are documented, to show us the importance of Sharia compliance. There was one Sahabi, he had achieved a great deal of success in selling wine and liquor. And while he was in the lands of Sham and what is called the Levant, he heard of the prohibition of wine and liquor, and immediately he forewent all of the revenue of his entire business. So this is how we should be. That is, the moment we know that something is not Sharia compliant, and we take advice from a reputable scholar, that is, can we be prepared to forego any benefits, financial benefits, like the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, the moment they heard that something was not compliant or impermissible, that they completely forewent it. I would like to terminate this first portion or segment of today's discourse in terms of a hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that there is one person who is ash'ath. He is fully covered in dust. He is completely disheveled, and then he raises up his hands in dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the hadith says, "Anna yustajabu lahu ad-du'a wa mat'amuhu haram wa mashrabuhu haram wa ma'kaluhu haram." How can such a person's dua be accepted? How can such a person's prayer be accepted when his eating is haram, his drinking is haram, and his clothing is also haram? So in other words, he was replenished. His earnings were not Sharia compliant. So how can such a person's dua be accepted? So therefore, all of this explains the importance of Sharia compliance in one's financial dealings. In one hadith also, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Kullu lahmin nabata min suhtin," that every piece of flesh that was nourished with haram, that is through non-permissible earnings, then such a person, that flesh becomes haram for Jannah. So that piece of flesh will never be able to enter Jannah and paradise.
Islamic finance learning made simple and memorable.